Good morning, everybody. Cheers. Yum. Just brewed. Welcome. I almost didn't make it this morning. I almost cancelled. But I got here with like 7 minutes spare. How's everyone doing on this beautiful sunny Melbourne morning? It's been bucketing down all night. It started raining yesterday and hasn't stopped. And it was pretty torrential this morning. Like our front yard area where I parked my car was flooded. I wasn't even sure. Sound is a bit low. My audio is all the way up. Is anyone else experiencing low sound? Let me just make sure it's on the right microphone. Sound output. Yep. Input. Yep. Is that better? How's that? My system volume was a bit low. Maybe. I'm not sure why. Still too low? Johnny's going, what? What? Okay, I'm keep lifting it. What is it? Check. 1, 2, 3. Check. Okay, I can lift it more if I need to, but hopefully that's okay. Is it? It's better. Okay, good. What? Why is everyone saying sorry to Johnny? Johnny's going dead. Oh, deaf. Oh, it's a typo from Cable Tie. And he wished ill on Johnny. No! He meant to write deaf. It's not often you see me in a hoodie in the morning. You know it's going to be super loud now when the super chat kicks in. No, that was my mic volume that was low. I've got my speakers are on and it's only sitting at about 60%, so hopefully I won't have a heart attack if one goes off. Yeah, Cable Tie spreading evil rumours that Johnny is no more. Yeah, sorry, more coffee. Hey, Christos. Oh boy, so it's been a pretty crazy week. I know it's only halfway through this week, but meaning since last week. Some crazy stuff has happened, which we'll get to. I'm kind of reluctant to talk and show it, but we'll see. Before we get started, I wanted to. Okay, sorry, I really didn't have any time to prepare anything. Here's something I prepared earlier. No, not really. So I just wanted to point out, it seems a bit silly because, as you'll see, it's about to be redundant for this case. But I just wanted to point out, this is not me doing a shameful plug. No, it's not. I just wanted to point everyone out that on my website, I've added a unexpectedmaker.com, which as if you don't know what my website is, everyone. But anyway, I've added a newsletter sign-up area. I've been reluctant to do any type of email newsletter type thing this whole time, and now I regret it because it's a really good way to stay in touch with people. And so I highly recommend anyone that wants to be updated. I'm going to start sending out like maybe monthly, just, you know, news and update type things, just simple stuff. But I'm going to start announcing. You hate how well. Hey mate, how you doing? Right, I hate how well they work as well, but they do work. And like I just find when I get bombarded with email, I find it quite like intrusive and frustrating. But it's different for the ones that I've signed up for as opposed to the ones that just I get spammed at. So anyway, if you're interested in receiving it, in finding out, like I'm going to do an announcement now about some product that I'm releasing this morning, but I'm going to start doing it via this email campaign first, or depends when it lines up. So as I said, today it's kind of redundant, but yeah, feel free to sign up if you want to. As I say, I don't really respect your privacy. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm going to inquire about your privacy via my email, whatever. But yeah, I won't sell your data, I promise. Well, let's see how desperate things get, right? And I won't email more than once a month, and most likely, knowing me, I'll actually forget for many months at a time. So whatever. Like, if there's nothing to talk about, if there's nothing for me to email about, I just won't email. But yeah. Anyway, we won't sell your data more than once per month. Once per month. How much can I make a month? No, anyway. I'm pretty sure the amount of data I'll get, the amount of email addresses I'll get will be pretty small anyway. But you're not saying if you'll sell the list of third parties. Yeah, I said here we won't sell your data. Oh, the data or the list. Right, okay, I didn't say I won't sell. Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm just going to put the list on. I'm going to make it open source. Everyone can just pin that up. Anyway. So I just wanted to bring that up because in the future I'm going to start posting out these things. Okay. Well, I'm going to leave this here because I'm going to perfect. I'm going to release some product. Well, actually, I should before I do that's what you need, another job. Well, that's why I probably won't email, Graham, because I'll forget, because I just won't get around to it, because whatever, because ADHD, I'll look at the email and go, I can't be bothered making an email, and 6 months later I haven't sent an email out. It'll give me $100. You don't even know how many people are on the list, though. What, more than once a month is a promise you might not keep? Make it say approximately once. No, I'm pretty... I'll be strict in that I won't... Oh, yeah, okay. Well, okay, it might change. I don't know. Oh, you're putting the pressure on, AJ. Oh, no. Okay, so let's... Okay, I'm going to say hi to folks in the stream first. Let's do that. So I missed a whole bunch at the start because Safari crashed, so I'll do what I can. Alan, hello, good morning. Jeremy, hello. Antonio, Crazy Roops, Mr. England, Graham, good morning. Braden, hello. We drowned over the weekend. Now we risk being blown away. Really? Is it like tornado-y type blown away, or just heavy winds? We had really heavy winds the other day. Like our roofs at home were like shaky. It was getting inside underneath. Anyway, Toby, hello. Dale, hi. Kevin, Cable Tie, good morning. Michael, good morning. Surprised you're up this early. Dachoris, hello. Johnny, glad you're alive, Johnny. Really am. David Essa, hello. Gerald42, Andy Day, Mr. Explore, hi. Hey, Paul. Paul's Projects, Beata, hello. Embedded Hobbyist, yay. Evening, Dave, not from Odessa. Dave, not from Odessa, no. Anyway, sorry. Bruce, hi. Hello, Brian Humphrey. Ray, hello. AJ, good morning. Just got in, says Bruce. Got in from where? It's not skiing season, is it? Oh, it jumped. Okay, gonna go backwards now. Aaron, Good morning, Christian. Hello. You made it this week, Christian. And Peter, hello. SBTW, I had issues with gift cards. Some folks are using them to launder money and hide credit card fraud. What? Really? Well, okay. Really? Oh my god. Okay. Zubi, hello. Folknology, hi. Sid, hello. X-Micron, hello. Rob, good evening all. Dave Paul Jones, hello. I'm still scrolling backwards, sorry. Christos, I said hi to Christos. Straight up Kiki and the nuts. Straight up Kiki and the nuts. Really? Okay. I mean, the fact that I can't pronounce it, that's fine. I think I've got everyone. I hope I got everyone. Almost, thanks to that. But what? Okay. But how did you lose money on those? Like, at the end of the day, or was the money... So they got caught on the other side and you lost that. Really? Oh, don't tell me that. Well, the good news is, unfortunately, no one's bought a gift card. So that's okay. I had requests for them a little while ago and no one's taken me up on them. So maybe I'll just remove them. All good. Gift cards have serial numbers that you can later block, cancel. I have no idea because no one's bought one yet. Yeah, I believe the way the gift card works, there's a code. You get issued a code, I believe. Like, that you redeem from. But it's too late once it's been I don't know. Oh, now you're freaking me out. Thanks for ruining my morning, Peter. Oh, okay. So, what am I releasing today? Well, sorry, I'm stuck on this whole money laundering thing. Having flashbacks to the Ozarks. Has everyone seen the Ozark? The Netflix show? That was great. That was really, really good. Well, if you talked me off the ledge before, just returning the favour. I think this is a different scale, potentially. Potentially a different scale. I'm pretty sure your pick and place machine cost you a lot more than you lost on the cards. Okay, I might disable them. Anyway, we'll do that later. So, I'm just going to... I've got the photography lens on my camera again, and I didn't change it this morning before the stream started, and I don't want to pull it apart now. So, just letting you know that the lens is the really close-up one, but in this case it might be okay. So, I made these. Dun, dun, dun. Wow, look at that, nice and straight. So I've now got UFL versions of my S3 boards. These took way too long to come out for me to do, but I needed to do them as in the same process as doing the antenna swap versions. So and then, of course, I was able to make these ones first. I'm still waiting for parts for the other stuff. The alignment is triggering. Sorry, as I said, how would I get them? Let's see if I can get them aligned. Hang on. Is that better? How's that? Oh, maybe. I'm just taking my hoodie off. Is that... Why is my logo up so high? One moment. It's because I moved the camera the other week. Okay, there you go. Now I fixed my logo and I fixed the alignment. How you pick and play the UFL connectors? Do you have a nozzle? No, just a normal. It's the same nozzle I use for my Soiks and stuff like that. So I'm just taking my hoodie off. It's getting warm up here. Okay. Better. Yeah, that pick and play's fine actually. Surprisingly. Quite often they'll get picked up on an angle, but they always straighten themselves up when they're getting placed. So that particular nozzle kind of fits inside the hole and over the little antenna bit that sticks up. Hey Austin, you forgot about the stream? Oh, shocking. So yeah, it's going over the pin. Yeah, otherwise it would spin around. So yeah, this is pretty exciting. So these...
Geek says, greetings mortals.
Greetings! Hello, Quixotic Geek. How you doing? In the hole and over the pin and back to somewhere we go. Okay. Is that like a nursery rhyme that I missed out on? So the reason I waited for these, just like it seems like an easy thing to just have gone ahead and done, is these also have the harmonic filtering on them. As you'll see, there's little components in there. I decided to do that as well on these, not just the new boards, in case anyone, I have people that use my boards in products that, I thought I'd just make things easier for people if they really wanted to do it, especially the Pro S3, because that can be soldered to another board, to a carrier board. Here it's 20 degrees and sunny. Yeah, no, not here. You're welcome, Quixotic Geek. Did you get the two boards working together? Or you haven't had a chance yet? So anyway, I'm going to release these today, and I've almost got everything finished last night on the website to do that. There's just one image on there, and I know it's going to trigger people, and maybe I'll fix it on stream today. But I'm going to... I can't show you what I'm doing on the... obviously in the back end. Shame. That's okay. Well, if they would have got there quicker, you would have had time already to do them. So I'm going to publish these. Publish. And edit. You can't see what I'm doing, but it'll just be 1 second. Publish and... God. Some nice things about Squarespace and some bad things about Squarespace. And now, if I go to my shop, dun dun dun, right, they're all currently sold out. I haven't added stock yet. I will do that today. But I've now got the UFL version. So I took these photos yesterday, and then I've updated all of the pinout cards. So photo. We'll skip that one. Oh, why have I got two? Oh, that's right. Oops. So they've got new pinout cards, and I even have new actual cards for them that got delivered yesterday. I was waiting on these. So I just thought it was weird. It would be weird including a card with an antenna on it when there's no antenna on it. So yeah, but what I haven't updated are these images here, and I don't know if is this triggering anyone? What's the difference between a tiny S3 and a tiny Pico? So the tiny Pico is using the original ESP32. The S3 is the latest and the last of that range of dual core Alexa MCUs. It's got Bluetooth 5 instead of... It's got BLE 5 instead of BLE 4.2. It doesn't have classic Bluetooth anymore like the original one does, but it's got improved cores, and it's an updated version of the Pico D4. Is the price zero due to no stock, or is that... Yeah, well, no, because you can't choose at the moment, because I don't have any stock in there. So you can do a sign up if you're interested in one. I will release stock today. So I've actually built my first batch, but I did them to validate. Where are you seeing zero price? Or was that on the front? It shouldn't say zero anywhere. It should just say Oh, the logo is cut off here as well. Thank you for letting me know. So for those that missed it the other week, I finally, it only took me, what, how many months? I don't know. August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. It only took me 8 months, and I finally routed the cable that was hanging down from my ceiling for the USB camera for the logo. I finally put it through the ceiling instead of having it hanging down. And by doing that, I shifted where the camera was. So let me just, okay, I'll fix that here. I just hadn't got around to updating it all. Why is it not letting me choose the camera? Okay, that's better. So what did you do on your stream today, Sion? Oh, I just fixed things. Okay, cool. So is anyone triggered by having the features image have an antenna on it? Because like I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I do mention it's got a 3D antenna with these ones don't, right? They've got a UFL connector. So I might make new versions of this image for these product pages. Well, now you are. No worries, Dale. Now you're triggered. Okay, well, okay. Why did I point it out? Well, because people do that. Like I get told I trigger people all the time, so I thought I'd get ahead of the game. Yeah, well, it might confuse people. Although it's I've got like UFL on the logo and I put so these are U8. That's the product code underneath the board, and I shouldn't have put that on the cards. I put them on the cards. Now it means that if I do a U9 for whatever reason, the cards are going to be wrong, but sometimes I don't think. Okay, well, I might update that image later today. Hey, Tinkering Tech, how you doing? And I hope that this is not going to confuse people and it's clear. This version of Feather Receive ships the UFL connector instead of an onboard antenna, so you can connect an external antenna. Yay, but it does not ship with an external antenna. Now, I thought about doing that. I've actually got some antennas coming in at the moment. I don't know where they are. I paid for express, not DHL, but I paid for express shipping. They're supposed to have been here a week ago, but whatever. People do look close at the image to see what they're getting. Yes, they do. Oh well, I think I'll update them. And I also have to update my ESP32S3 website as well and put all that stuff on there as well. And the homepage and whatever. There's lots of stuff to do. I was hoping to get it done last night, but I didn't. It was Yuz and Flynn's birthday yesterday. So I decided to not hack on the website. Okay. So hopefully thanks Dachoris. So hopefully those will be here soon and I'll try them out. And if they're any good, I can always have an option that people can include an antenna. Star Wars Day tomorrow. Woo! Indeed it is. Tomorrow for us and 2 days for some of the people living in the past. What I should also do, thanks Gerald42, I should also put on here links to some antennas that you could buy. That's a really good idea, because I've got a few, like I test with this one, this pulse antenna. I've also got a Jaeger one, and I've got a couple of other ones coming from Mauser to try out. I'm just going to put some links in there for antennas that people can buy. They're relatively cheap. I mean, you can buy a $1 antenna from AliExpress, but I don't know what it's going to be like. This one was like, I think this one was $17. It's quite large, right? It's got massive gain on it. Some of the smaller ones I'll be looking at are like $7, $6. Affiliate links, yeah, well, you don't earn much on a $1 antenna from AliExpress, let me tell you. I have a PCB in, right, and that's another interesting thing is that I've actually thought about making a tuned PCB antenna that is matched with my S3 boards. So it won't be like this. It'll be a UFL connector. It'll be like a UFL to UFL type thing, right? And a PCB style antenna. It's on my list of things to do because I can then tune it. Like this is tuned for, I don't know what center frequency this is really sitting at, and it's you can see it's kind of, let me just change cameras. You can see, hopefully through the light, you can see that it's like a weird inverted F shape, and it's actually it's pretty good. It is pretty good. What's really interesting though is in close range, like within 15-20 meters, it doesn't perform any better than the new tuning on my boards. But this will obviously give me more distance. Like I can, go out to 50 meters and I'll still get pretty good distance, which you start, and on a little antenna, you start losing that. It's very hard to compare an antenna that is that little white thing there compared to an antenna that size, right? Or could we have the KiCad file for that so we can integrate it into our projects? Well, it'll be specifically tuned for the board as it is. The second you would put it onto something else, it would completely detune it. That's the point, right? I'm talking about an external antenna, so it could be like a little PCB like this with a UFL connector on it that you could mount separately to something like this. I don't know. I mean, these are good. These are great, and they've got adhesive on them, and you can. I don't know. I'm gonna have a play with one anyway and see. And that's the thing. These are all unmatched, right? These all assume that you're going to get a RF's just, it's dodgy. RF is dodgy. It won't damage the chip if you run it without the antenna connected. Well, if you run it for a short period of time without the antenna connected, it won't damage the chip. It doesn't shut down, but the chip will get hot. Like you get a lot of reflection, right? So I don't advise it, but it does work. My boards do get tested initially on my test jigs without the antenna connected, and they actually connect fine, right, to my test Wi-Fi router, which is all the way at the front down there. It's sitting on top of the laser cutter down there, so it's as far away from my desk as I can get it, and they actually connect fine. But it's a very quick test, and then it shuts it down. I wouldn't recommend doing it for any length of time. You really want to put an antenna on there because the reflections will overheat the chip and could damage it. The reason I got the UFL based version is for one of my projects. It's in a metal box, 100%. But I've made a PCB to replace one of the end plates with a PCB antenna on it. That's actually really clever. As long as you can seal it, like if it needs to be waterproof, as long as that face, yeah, that's actually a really clever idea. I wasn't thinking of for that exact case. I was thinking just as a replacement for something like this, but that was tuned correctly, right? But yeah, that's the whole point of having a board with a UFL connector is for people that want to put them inside a case, right? Whether it's a metal case will completely destroy the radio's ability to attenuate outside it, right? So the antenna won't work at all inside the box, a metal box, or very badly. Inside a 3D printed case, it is better, but it still will degrade it'll degrade what distance you get, right? So that's why a UFL connector is handy, right? You can just find an antenna that works for you for your project. Something like this is great because it can just sit outside. It can sit on the outside of a box. It's waterproof. You don't have to worry about weather. I mean, you don't want it to be sitting in a pond, but you know what I mean? And it'll just stick onto the side and it'll work really, really well. Well, at least you got a notification. I didn't even know YouTube notifications work these days, so that's pretty good. So anyway, so there you can join the waitlist for those. I will be releasing some today. As I said, that's what I was saying. Distracted. So I did a first run yesterday. I built only a couple of panels of each of the three because I needed to validate them, right, and make sure that they work fine, and I needed to take photographs and stuff. I didn't have any black boards. All my prototypes I do in green. because it's considerably cheaper. As soon as I do these with a custom stack up in black, it doubles the price of the prototypes, which is not worth paying. I need to find a PCB antenna for LoRa. You can do that. Actually, there's a KiCad one. There's a shape in KiCad in the library for a LoRa antenna. It's pretty big, well, compared to a PCB antenna for Wi-Fi. But, yeah, there's one there. So I'm gonna run another batch. I don't know if I'll do it today, but I'll definitely do it this week. So I'll have more available. So right now the numbers I'll have will be small. But anyway, so yay! I've got them finally on my store, and I should have done them a long time ago. So what else have I been working on? Well, I'm currently trialing a redo of my Reflow Master Pro. So I'm just moving these boards out of the way. I don't have the board here yet. It shipped yesterday. Unfortunately, I thought I got it in time to ship before JLC closed down for those 2 days. But I didn't get a chance to. Sorry, they didn't get it finished in time, and it didn't get here in time. Just some quick background on what I'm doing for the Reflow Master Pro. It's exactly the same functionality and everything else. There's no difference between a current Reflow Master Pro that I've recently shipped since I made these, and if I move to this new version. It's purely a matter of making them easier for me to assemble. So I'm hoping I can reduce the price of them to make them more approachable for people. So there's a few things. Right now there's quite a lot of through-hole soldering that I have to do per board. Is there also 2.4 gigahertz version of Dora? No, 2.4 is... Well, like the whole point of LoRa is you need a lower frequency to be able to do lower power, right? The higher the frequency, the more power you need to attenuate out the signal. So LoRa is all about low power, long distance, and again, the higher the frequency, the less distance you can get. So yeah, you won't ever see a high frequency LoRa. It'll be something else. Okay, back to this. So there's a lot of through-hole soldering I need to do, and because of that, and because there's screw terminals on the back and that on the back, and then parts on there, that once they're soldered, I can't rework the board, right? Because I'll melt the connectors. And so when I assemble these, I have to assemble them and then test them in stages. Then I need to put the buttons on, solder the buttons on, and then retest them again, and then I need to solder the rest on and then test it again. It's a very lengthy process, because if I just assemble the whole thing and there's a problem, I can't fix it, not without melting it. So I want to improve the manufacturability of that and remove either some or all of the through-hole soldering. Hey, wagon loads. Danger puddle for the win. What? What's danger? What? Oh, no. You mean for soldering? I can't, because there are components on that side. I guess selective, like this way, fountain selective soldering, whatever they're called, maybe, but no. So the way to... What? Mask off with the tray. Hey Desmond, this is just my Reflow Master Pro. I'm talking about how I've done a respin of it to simplify manufacturing, but I think I've gone too far, and I think I need to go somewhere in between. So the other thing is that these are using these screen modules, right? Which are fine, but then I need to get standoffs and screw standoffs together, and it's just all these little bits and pieces, putting them together, and then if I have to do something, I need to pull it apart again, and whatever. I know it's no big deal, except it's a time sink, right? And so that time just increases the costs of the boards. So what I've done is, this is just a little blue mock-up, 3D printed mock-up, is I made a version where everything is surface mount. There's not one through-hole part left on the board, including the connectors on the back. And I've gone for a screen with a connector, so the screen sits, it's just a panel without the PCB adapter, and even the buttons, which I only just got the buttons, where I put them? I only got the buttons yesterday. I've not even opened them. These are quite weird. I found these by fluke. So you can, let me just switch to here for a second. So these are the buttons I use at the moment. Is that in focus? Let's see if I can set the focus. Okay, these are buttons I use at the moment, and they're through hole. There is a version of these that you can get that are surface mount. The problem is the pins stick out really wide and much further at the back. So I can't actually get this density of 4 buttons next to each other using those. The buttons would actually go from where my thumb is up to about here because of how wide the footprint is. So I didn't want to use those. They also can't be pick and placed. So what the world is, what? No. So here's the thing. I wasn't going to talk about this change that I'm looking at doing because I didn't want people to freak out. It's going to be exactly the same Reflow Master Pro. Functionality and everything else is all identical. The screen's just done by SPI. So what I found is, I'm just opening up the reel. I found these, and I bought a reel because they were discounted, and I'll use them for something else if I don't end up doing this. Although I think I can, oh my god, the masking tape. I really dislike, I'm generalizing here, and I'm really not trying to be in any way racist, right? So I apologize in advance if this annoys anyone. I really hate how when you get Asian brand products you buy, and people who buy parts understand what I'm talking about, like from LCSC, whatever else. There's a range of parts that you can buy from them that you can't get from Mauser or DigiKey, whatever else. They're parts that come from the Asian region, Asian marketplace, right? I hate how they use really cheap, crappy masking tape to hold their stuff together, right? And like you can tell the difference between, like I get reels like from Espressive or from, you know, non-Asian manufacturers where, you know, you get that either really nice silver tape or you get something really nice blue tape, and it's got a little curl at the end that you can easily grab it, and it doesn't rip off the cover tape and everything else. And then you get all this Asian brand stuff, and it's just got, like, there's just now masking tape stuck all over this reel everywhere because it just disintegrates, and I don't understand for price. I don't know what that button is, Wagon Loads, but I've got very specific requirements for my buttons. So let me take one of these. I just stabbed myself on my tweezers. Oh. Hopefully you can still hear me. Let me just open this up and get one of these buttons out. Now the button and the actuator length is a little bit shorter on this than my current ones, and the buttons are quite small. But the reason I was looking, here we go. So this is this new button I found. Okay, that's actually quite small. That's smaller than I expected it to be. I thought the inside bit was the same size, but clearly not. Right, so that's that button there. So when it's mounted, it doesn't come out quite as far, but still sticks out from the edge of the board. But the thing about it is it's only got 2 small pads and a, you might be able to see, 2 small pads, and it's got a little slot on the side. There you go. Maybe let's focus on that if I can. You gonna focus on that? So it's got that slot on the side there to hold it in place, so it's sturdy. So I think mechanically it'll be fine. But the thing is about them is they're surface mount, and they can be pick and placed. And what I don't want to do is move to a surface mount button that I can't actually pick and place unless I build a custom 3D printed tray or whatever else to, like, you know, have to manually load them up on trays to be able to pick and place them. All I'm doing then is changing one set of manual labor to another set of manual labor. See, like I really did stab myself. Look, I'm bleeding. They're really sharp. Oh. So anyway, okay, so this is maybe a little bit smaller, but we'll try it. So that's one change I made. So if these buttons are surface mount, that's 20 pins I don't have to hand solder, but it's also one step I don't have to test, because the whole thing could be assembled with the buttons, and I don't have to pre-check this board before I solder the buttons on.
Geek says sharp things are sharp.
They are, and I'm still bleeding. I just don't want to get on my bench. So what I have to do at the moment, I know you can't see the whole thing in here, is when I get a board, actually, I can probably, right, no. Have they got this soldered on? Right, okay. So here's a board that I haven't soldered the buttons on yet. So I can, you know, this button will come off. It's just being put in there, getting ready to solder. So what I do is when the board is reflowed, I take it out and I have to plug it in and power it up. I just short the power button here to make sure that obviously my power LEDs come on, and to make sure this enumerates. Because if it doesn't enumerate, it means that the module isn't sitting properly on the pads, or I've got that oxidization issue, which I still get occasionally on some of these modules. Probably 1 in 10 or 1 in 11 modules I get has got that underneath pad oxidization problem, which sometimes I can fix them if I re-tin the pads on the bottom, but most of the time I can't. Right, it's YouTube telling me my bitrate's too high. So I have to test this board and make sure this enumerates first before I can put the buttons on. And then I solder the buttons on, and then I retest, I put the screen on, right? And I retest it with the buttons to make sure that the screen works, make sure that the SD card slot works and everything else. And then I solder the rest of the stuff on, and then I test with this jig here, right? I test, it goes in like this with the screen on, everything else, and this tests, I run some test software, and it checks everything. It checks my fan output, it checks my thermocouple input, it checks my SSR output and everything else. So there's 3 sets of tests I have to do in between, and then I clean the boards. So I'm trying to avoid a lot of that step. The other thing that I am looking at doing is getting rid of
Wagon Load says, would a pogo pin test jig help before mounting through hole parts?
Not really, because there's no, no. It would, for the amount of work to do that, it's like making not really. I'd have to transplant, anyway. The short answer is no, and there's a lot of other things I'm trying to solve at the same time. So I'm getting rid of why is my camera not autofocusing anymore? Must have changed something. Oh, it probably won't autofocus with this lens. I'm getting rid of the SD card slot, and instead I'm putting some of these on. And this is another part that just turned up yesterday. I've not even opened. So this is something I'm just prototyping. Hey Dutch Maker, and okay, let me see if I can open this without them going everywhere. No, I need a knife. Okay, come on, knife. So I want to get rid of the SD card socket. I still need that functionality, but it just means that people have to either provide their own or buy an SD card, which just adds to the cost, right? If I could cut this open, it'd be great. Anyone? Okay. Wow, look at this padding. Look, it's got cardboard, and then it's got foam. Wow. Okay. I hope I've got this the right way up. Otherwise we're in trouble. I do. So these are little SD card chips. So they act exactly like an SPI based SD card. They're only 128 megabytes. That's fine. The data I'm storing is only a few K. But what this means is I can replace the SD card socket with one of these, and then there's no need for an SD card at all, right? So that reduces the need for either people to buy one or supply one. It reduces the need for me to keep them in stock and all that stuff. Can they do SDI2 or just... these ones... Actually, they might be able to do SDIO, but it doesn't matter. I don't have enough I/O on here to do that left over. I'm just going to use them in SPI mode, just like the SD card. So there's that as well. And then I've also... do I have one? No, put it away. I'm looking at doing... Although I've worked out... I've actually got these, but they're downstairs now. I've bought some surface mount connectors. These are just obviously 3D print. I bought some surface mount connectors to use instead of the screw terminals. So, and then of course the screen on this side means that the whole thing turns into one board. Okay, I need to I need to clean my desk right now because I'm going to knock things on the floor. It turns into one board if I do this, right? Where all surface mount on one side and screen on the other side. I'm not sure what you mean, Desmond. What? Given the MCU processing this data, it really makes sense to use massive footprint for an SD card reader. To have tens of... It's not... This is for storing user data and settings and profiles and stuff like that. So there's a requirement to have SD storage on here. There's nothing to do with the MCU or processing. XTX chip might not be the same, but talk about... Yeah, this is an XTXC chip. Okay, hang on. I'm rolling over the stuff on the floor. I wasn't planning on opening all these parts this morning, but anyway, and I knocked it, and now all the chips are falling out of the tray. Excellent, Sion. You are a legend. That's what you get when you open a tray on a stream. Okay. Get in. Let's put the lid back on. I'm going to move them out the way so I don't knock them again. Okay, let's get this out the way. We'll put them up here. Good. For later. So what I'm probably going to end up doing, though, is a hybrid of the two. I think that I've gone too far on this in my attempt to make it as easy as possible to remove all the manual steps. I think I've gone too far, and I'm probably going to do something in between where I will still keep my screw terminals and I'll still have some of the through hole, and I might still keep the screen that plugs in the front, but I'll change to surface mount buttons on the side, and I'll change the SD card slot. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. I haven't got the prototype yet. I don't even know if I've wired up the screen correctly. So stay tuned on that. I'll let you all know. I've missed so much of the chat. Sorry. 64 gig. I supply with an 8 gigabyte card because they're the cheapest ones I can buy. You only need a megabyte. But, you know, yeah, so it's the point of having the SD card slot and socket. I don't want to store it in flash because the flash can get destroyed, right? I wanted it to be external storage for the user data, for their custom profiles, for their settings and everything else like that. Is there an SD card in the box? I don't know. Did you order with an SD card? Did I include one? I don't know. Will the user have a... Well, if they take the SD card out, they can have a backup of it. Sure, that's the whole point. It's removable. But unfortunately, you can't buy small SD card slots anymore. The smaller you buy in terms of storage, the more expensive they are, which is crazy. But my Reflow Master Pro requires an SD card to be in that slot, or it won't boot into the software. It'll tell you you must put an SD card in. Anyway, the point is, well, they don't have to stick a 64 gig card in there, right? Have I missed saying hi to people? I don't know. Do you have to use a cooler Reflow profile for the new buttons to not damage the plastic? No, these are rated for normal reflow. That should be fine. Is there an SPI tape reader? Hello, Mallow. It's been a while. So anyway, I just want to be clear that I'm not changing anything about the features or functionality of the Reflow Master Pro. I'm trying to find a way to manufacture them cheaper and quicker, to mean that I can sell them for less. That's my thing, right? Is the SP Pico Mini hard to solder on a heat plate? No, you need a heat plate. You have to do a heat plate or an oven, because the pads are underneath. No, the device won't boot without an SD card. You must put an SD card in the Reflow Master Pro. That is done by design. So, but to remove the need for that, but still have the same functionality, is what I'm going to use those chips for. So I will be transitioning to those chips at some point to remove the need for an actual external card to be put in the machine, in the unit. It'll still act like there is one in there, right? So that just removes a step and maybe a bit of friction. I don't know. Okay, so that's the Reflow Master Pro stuff. Now, guess that's the reason not to use an embedded SPI flash chip. Well, the problem with using an external flash chip, excuse me, doesn't really make a lot of sense. Well, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but I'd have to completely change the code base to do that, and then I'd have incompatible code. What I want to be able to do is, whatever I do to improve manufacturability of the Reflow Master Pro, to make it 100% compatible with the current Reflow Master Pro, so it's one code base. No, an SPI flash won't work in the place of the SD card, because then it needs a completely different code base. All the code is the same. I don't want to have any issues where I have to fork it and have, if you've got this version of the Reflow Master Pro, you need this code. If you need the blah, 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 you need that code. Yeah, it's hard to source them. It depends what size you need. I was lucky that I only need a small amount. I thought you redesigned the board to work without a card. When did I... What are you talking about, Wagon Loads? I've designed the board to work without the need to put a card in there. It still thinks it's got a card, but it's a chip instead. The chip is like a card, just non-removable. No version with a floppy drive. LMLO, yeah. Longer lasting batteries, yeah. So I think you're confusing what I'm talking about, Wagon Loads. It's the... I'm not removing the requirement for the SD. I'm removing the requirement for the user to have a card in there, right? The chip can use spiffs, but I don't want to use spiffs. I don't want to do anything with the internal flash. Or can this chip? No, this chip is an SD card. It's an SD card that's non-removable, folks. No, it's not EMC chip. It's an SD NAND chip. It's not eMMC. Totally different. Right? It's just like an SD card, but it's a permanent chip. Does that make sense? Yeah? So functionality is identical. Oh, do they? I'm not going to pull one apart to find out. Hence the code compatibility going forward. It'll act the same. It'll do exactly the same. And everything else is the same. I don't want to do anything on the change that is going to fork things at all, and require more maintenance and management. So that was one of the key things. And that's why I might have gone too far. And with this, I don't know. Yeah. But we'll see. I've got a board coming anyway. You know, it was already ordered. But I'll probably find something in between. Came here for an argument. No arguments. Okay, so now something super exciting that I really didn't want to show and talk about, but I think I will. So many of you know I've been playing with FPGAs for the last few weeks on stream and tinkering off and whatever else. And so, well, I might have designed a board. I might have decided to do it and then done it and finished it in a couple of days, which in itself was unexpected. And my initial reason for wanting to do it was to look at, so a few weeks ago, not last week, but the week before, when we were talking about FPGAs and ESP32s and merging, blah, blah, and then usability and how would you flash it and blah, 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 blah. We had that whole discussion, and I kind of made that, you know, as I always do. It's me, my strong stance on this is the way I think it would need to work for it to be usable by people, to make it user-friendly, right? Like how would you get the bitstream data, the gateway onto the FPGA and whatever else, blah, blah, blah. What happens if you reflash your board and blah, 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 blah. And I had an idea in my head about how it might work. And I really think it can work this way. And so I want to try it. And the only way I can really try it is on a board that can do it. So I designed a board. And so I started designing just something that I could test with. And then the next thing I knew, I designed a actual product. And so I haven't sent it off to get manufactured yet. I put it in my shopping cart, had a heart attack on what 5 prototypes are going to cost me, then got some tough love from Peter, who, you know, explained to me how cheap that actually was compared to what things used to cost or what things still do cost elsewhere. And I am going to order it, and I'm going to make one. I'm going to make 2. Yeah, so there's there's a few boards out there. There's that one with the C3, is it? I think it's the C3. Was it the Ice Wire or something like that? I didn't know at the time, but like Faulknology, who's in the, I think you're still in the chat. He also worked on a design a while ago, which it's open source. Yeah, the Ice V wireless. That's it. Right. There's one called Alloy, which Faulknology did, and he had some. What was interesting is he pointed me to his repository, and he had some code, CircuitPython code, to getting bitstream data from CircuitPython. So like you boot into CircuitPython on the ESP32, and then you can just drag your file on your .bin, and then it'll copy it over to the FPGA, which is what my idea was, but I don't want to do it in CircuitPython. and because that would, what happens if you flash Arduino onto your board or MicroPython onto your board or working on the IDF, suddenly, like, how are you going to get the data on, right, and stuff like that. So should I show you the board? I haven't got them made yet, obviously. Should I show you the board design first, or should I talk to you about how I'm myself and Michael, I've given a challenge to Michael on this as well, how we're going to handle loading the data, like loading the bitstream. Should we talk about that first, or do you guys want to see a board design first? How amazing. Okay. Show. I'll show. Okay, so... Oh.
Geek says board now.
Board now. Now. Except, where's it? My KiCad has... No, there it is. Okay. So... I'm nervous, but okay. Here we go. So this is the board. And it is my first 6-layer board. And it's got 0201 components on it. So I had to go pretty extreme to get this to work. Just give me a second. But there is a reason I did this. I could have made it easy.
666.
666. I could have done this much easier if I was prepared to break.
Christian Iverson says number of the beast.
Yeah, I know what 666 is. I'm not quite sure. Can my pick and place do 0201? Not properly, no. But I don't plan on making these on my current pick and place machine, on the Neoden. So this board is... It's hard to see from this scale, but it is a tiny S3 up to there. That is a tiny S3. Intact, 100% compatible tiny S3. And then this side is an FPGA. It's an ICE 40, and they are connected. So you get the full functionality of the ESP32 S3, the tiny S3 with, no, it's not called tiny FPGA, and that's already taken anyway. All the things you can do with the tiny S3, languages, whatever else, blah, 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 but with an ICE on there as well. And probably make more sense to show a 3D view of the board. That's what the top of the board looks like. So you've got, we'll go through the specs in a moment, but the board is called there you go. For those that are having trouble reading it, that's the name of the board. So the board has got one PMOD broken out on the side with differential pairs.
Geek says Blizzard.
Blizzard S3. So it's got a PMOD with differential pairs broken out on the side. It's got an additional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 FPGA I/O broken out. So that's 18 in total I/O broken out from the FPGA. You've got the standard I/O broken out from the ESP32 S3. but then you've also got 3 individual colored LEDs, so a green, a red, and a blue. They're not an RGB LED, they're 3 individuals. There's a user button on the side over here. And then there's a whole bunch of I/O that's connected between the two for both flashing. So there's no external flash for the FPGA. The bitstream data will come from the ESP32 on boot every time you boot. And so the way I'm going to do it is through a second stage bootloader. So how about a massive for those keep us losing things? What? You can't get 0402 pink LEDs. Never found any, Alan. Sorry. How about a massive S3 for those of us who keep losing things? Well, so here's the thing. I could have made this board easier and cheaper, as in not requiring 6 layers or 0201 components, if I didn't care about the tiny S3 compatibility. But I didn't want to make a form factor that didn't fit. I didn't want to do a feather version because everyone makes feather versions of these hybrid boards. And the truth is a feather version doesn't give you any I/O. Like you've got 16 pins on one side and 12 pins on the other, and that's it for the entire board to be feather compatible, right? And if you extend it and make it longer, you can do that, but then you can't at breaking feather. And then to get enough I/O out and stuff, it ends up being twice as long as a feather board. So I wanted to keep compatibility with the ESP32 S3, but it meant that I needed to route some extra layers. So that's one of the layers. This is the only way I could get stuff over. Between that and that, as you can see, that's separated. That layer there, that's my bottom layer. But one of my inner layers, this is my interconnect between the two. Because there was no way I could get anything over from one side to the other side through this small section and still keep RF intact and everything else, right? A little bit of a unconventional RF layout here, but I'm pretty confident that I can tune this and make that work fine. Yeah, I don't want a feather. I didn't want to do a feather format one. That's what everyone chooses to do on it. I was more interested in doing something that was smaller, that fit one of my current products. So that's why I did this. But a hard-coded ROM for the ESP side, so you can always boot with original code. Well, because you can't do that. Anyway, I've got a solution, Wagon Loads, so it's fine, thank you. But so it's going to work off a second stage bootloader. And well, the thing is, Aaron, is this will be compatible with all of the Tiny Pico shields, right? And it'll also be compatible with anything that's PMOD for the FPGA. Is good to hear if you do 3-layer PCB. What? Well, sure, you can do DVI out from a PMOD here. I believe you can do it on one PMOD. So sure. I mean, anything that you could do on the Icebreaker, for instance, you can do on this, right? So, second stage bootloader, let me just focus on that. So what it'll do, it'll have a second stage bootloader that'll be like that'll boot into a mass storage device. So just like now you can flash into Arduino and keep the UF2 intact. You can flash in CircuitPython or MicroPython and keep the UF2 bootloader intact. You can also stomp it, but I can't prevent people from stomping it. But you can use, except for the IDF, you can use all programming languages and keep the UF2 bootloader intact, right? And so all you do is you boot into that and you drag your binary on, and it stores that in a partition on the flash on the ESP32 S3 chip, and when it does a normal boot, it copies it over the bitstream over to the FPGA, just like the FPGA would pull it off flash every time it boots. So as far as the FPGA is concerned, it's getting its bit stream the same way. There are two official ways that you can do it. It either loads it off a flash chip if it finds one, or it loads it from SPI if the CS pin is toggled, and that's how it works. So you boot the board and it'll send the bit stream and it'll just work. And if you want to change the bit stream, you just go into mass storage device, you boot the board into mass storage device and copy your file on. Now that said, you will also be able to, depending on the firmware you put on your board, like your normal firmware, you'd be able to do Wi-Fi upload. You'll be able to do, like, copy a file over, over the network and flash it if you wanted to. Or you'll be able to do it yourself in your own code. I'll put some examples in there on how to do that. That kind of the way that Fognology does it. Found an alley, but they cost $2 Euro per piece, and they're probably. What X plays? What is happening on the PCB? What? Why? Like ground plane is on the second. Okay, but that's a 3-layer board you're talking about? I'm confused. No, there won't be a Pro compatible board. It can't be a Pro compatible board, because then to add what would be the advantage of a Pro compatible board? That the Pro has heaps more I/O, but then I still have to add all the I/O for the FPGA. So then you're going to end up with a board that's a meter long. I don't know what you get as advantage from that. Can it work as OTA FP? Well, yes, you'd be able to flash bitstream via over the air if you wanted to. You're still stuck on the pink LED. Well, if you can find me some 0402 pink LEDs that I can buy in reels, then sure. So anyway, I've designed the board. I'm pretty sure it's going to work. I think I've got everything right. I've spent a lot of time looking through the data sheets, and I think it's good. It's got independent power control. So there's a 3.3 volt regulator and a 1.2 volt regulator, and they are both controlled via the ESP32 S3. So you'll be able to shut down the FPGA if you want to. So for instance, if you want the S3 board to go into deep sleep and you don't want the FPGA powered, you can shut down the FPGA if you want to. You obviously just have to be careful when you bring it back up again. You need to bring up the power domains in order, but you'll have control over that as well. This stage calls the second stage. Correct. Hey Peter. Yeah, it's automatically called, and so you have two options with the second stage bootloader on the ESP32. You can either put hooks in the existing bootloader, second stage bootloader, to call your own functions, or you can completely replace the second stage bootloader. You get a choice, and they've got examples of both. So for instance, the UF2 bootloader, like with CircuitPython, where it boots in when you hold the boot button when it starts up, and it mounts as the UF2 drive, that's the second stage bootloader completely replacing it and doing UF2 instead. So does Doom run on the S3 or the FPGA? I don't know, whichever one you get it working on, Mike. That's totally up to you. Have you personally come up with a use case for this board? Are we more interested in what the community comes up with? Well, I'm interested in the connectivity side and the flashing side. Honestly, that's my primary thing I want to look at right now. I think if that needs to be solved for a board like this to be more approachable, I believe. There are other boards out there that hybrid, whether it's a RP2040 and FPGA, or a C3 and FPGA, or an ESP32 S2 with an FPGA, whatever it is. There are other boards out there that have other ways of doing the flashing and stuff, and the best I've seen so far is the Alloy one, but by Folknology, who has the whole do it via CircuitPython. And that doesn't mean you couldn't do it via other languages, but you'd have to flash specific code onto your board to be able to do it, or you'd have to integrate that code into your own code to be able to do it, which sounds like an absolute disaster and nightmare, like a software nightmare problem for most people. It would make it completely unapproachable as far as I'm concerned. Me being the expert in the world, whatever. I think that was a joke, by the way. I should have said me not being the expert. But I personally believe for a hybrid situation to work, it needs to be really simple, and it needs to be fairly foolproof. And that's what I'm interested in solving. And if I can, I think this could be a really cool product. And the use cases are, well, whatever you want to do with an FPGA, with limited I/O compared to an icebreaker, right? Oh, let me just disconnect. I mean, that's got a lot of I/O broken out, yeah? But the itsy bitsy version of it doesn't. Like the itsy bitsy version's got a limited amount of I/O broken out because it's a tiny board, right? Well, this is also a tiny board. But you get all of the S3 and all the functionality on there. You get the battery power, you got super low deep sleep current, you've got all that stuff, plus an FPGA. When they came out, I thought the blue LEDs were cool, but blue LEDs are hard on my eyes. Green LEDs are easy on my eyes. So what additional I/O does the FPGA give us? What do you mean, what additional? So there's 18 I/O exposed, that's connected to the FPGA. So, and as I said, differential pairs on the PMOD, so you can do things like DVI or whatever else. The size of the board is 55.5 by 17.8. So it's a pretty small board. It's basically a it's I think only a tad longer than the Pro S3. So it's this. Any plans for Google Coral chips? Hello, Vast CNC. No. Hey, Photochromax. When you deep sleep, what does the FPGA does? Oh, it will do nothing. It's up to you. You can, as I said, the enable of both voltage regulators is connected to the S3. So you can shut down the FPGA if you want to when the S3 is in deep sleep, or you can leave it running if you're doing something with it, right? You can sleep the ESP32 S3 and have the FPGA running, doing whatever task you've got it doing. So it's up to you. Or you can shut down the FPGA to save battery power, to save power. Totally controllable by you. So you end up with 5 I/O that are directly connected between the S3 and the FPGA. So is that a double row right angled header pins you have? Yes, it's called a PMOD connector. So it's become a standard, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because it's big and bulky, but that wasn't my choice. So this is a PMOD connector here. That's a PMOD connector, and so you can see there the double row of pins, right, where you've got 3 volts, ground, and then 8 I/O, and then there's a whole bunch. Hang on, I'll show you. Where did I put it? Not there, not there. Oh, come on. Where did I? Is it on the floor? No. Oh, one moment, folks, while I try to find. Oh, here we go. And then there are a bunch of PMODs. So like here's a PMOD with a LED display, dip switches. There are some that require, so this is for HDMI out. It's actually using a decoding encoding chip. So that requires 2 PMOD connectors. So you couldn't use something like that. But I believe you can do DVI out at least, maybe even HDMI with a single PMOD. Possibly, I don't know. And then yeah, so some PMODs, I mean, and basically you can, we can make PMODs. I mean, just like shields, you could, it's just an interface, right? You go Pico DVI. Does FPGA keep set up after power loss like ROM, or does it? No, an FPGA loads off flash on boot, or loads via SPI on boot. Right, so Michael just posted this. So here is a picture. So that's, is it DVI? Does it actually do HDMI as well? But off a single PMOD. But you do the processing on the FPGA where, like, rather than using an external decoder, whatever. Yeah, you get to choose photochromax. What's the maximum size of the bit stream for the ICE40 you selected? I don't know. It's the 5280 LUT version. It's the same one that's on the Icebreaker. So it's the same ICE40 that everyone's using. It's the 48-pin QFN. Right, so DVI over HDMI, right. So you don't get full HDMI, you just get DVI. But that's off a single PMOD. So that could be connected to the board, and you could have DVI output on an S3 via the FPGA. So what can you do with it? Like having an FPGA on there? Well, I don't know. Like it's the same thing of, what can you do with my other S3 boards? Kind of whatever you want to. I don't know. I'm trying to learn about FPGAs, and I'm trying to, obviously, one of my struggles is thinking of projects to do with an FPGA that makes more sense with an FPGA than an MCU. And I personally don't have any projects like that where an FPGA would be better, but there are stacks of things in FPGA that you could do that you couldn't do on an MCU. Just not really in the realm of projects that I'm personally working on. But that doesn't mean that the board itself and the project itself isn't worthwhile. I should make and sell some HDMI PMODs. People will want. Yeah, sure, absolutely, I could do that. I don't know, like so one of my options, and a likely option would be to to crowdfund and open source this. But to do that, I'd want the whole managing the bitstream stuff solved first, obviously, right? Well, first I need to build a prototype and make sure that it works. And then I need to solve the communication stuff and make sure that's all good. Test a bunch of PMODs and make sure they're working okay. But you could also, like, you could put a RISC-V soft core on this, and you could make another processor with this, and this could be running when the S3 is sleeping. How the whole, I want to grab sensor data, right? And but I want to do it when the ESP32 is sleeping. Well, so you could put an I2C core with a RISC-V core on the FPGA, and you could be running and capturing data and whatever else, and then send it to the ESP32 when it wakes up or whatever. You could even wake up the ESP32 from deep sleep from the FPGA. What do you mean by, no, it can't turn off. What do you mean by turn off? Well, you'd have to add an external ADC, but that's but you don't need the FPGA for that. How does the? I don't know. I don't know how it compares. It's hard for me to. I mean, it would really depend on what the chip is doing. I haven't done any profiling on here on the Icebreaker. It's not really. They're not designed for battery power. Really, I wouldn't think. I'd have to try this and see. No, you can't. No, because then you could never wake it up again. So no, that's the wrong direction. You need to always be able to control your ESP32 yourself. But you could sleep the ESP32 and have the FPGA wake it. Oh, ADC on the PMOD, sure. But you could also do ADC on the normal pins on the S. Like that's nothing you need an FPGA for, right? Like you can put an ADS 1015 or 1115 chip connected directly to an ESP32 if you want better ADCs. Let's call it, but I heard the ESP type board that can stay connected to Wi-Fi in deep sleep. Is it some new chips coming out that'll be able to do that? Yes. It's not board specific. It's ESP32 specific, and it's not quite possible yet. So I believe the C5 may be able to do that. Potentially the C6, but it's definitely not supported yet in the firmware. You can go into light modem mode. So it's not deep sleep, right? You can't do it in deep sleep, but you can do it in a form of sleep where you can either actually have the radio going and you can communicate at a low speed, or you'll have the functionality where you can go to sleep, deep sleep, there's no radio, but when you wake up, the radio connection is still there. It doesn't have to reconnect and get an IP address and stuff like that, right? REM sleep. Right, for a faster oscilloscope, sure. But I'm not sure you'd use a board like this if you were trying to design an oscilloscope, but possibly. So anyway, this is an experiment to start with. Unfortunately, it's an expensive experiment because it's like almost $200 to get 5 boards. $200 US to get 5 boards. But, you know, if I want to get rid of the 6 layers and go back to 4, I have to make the board wider, quite a bit wider, unfortunately. And I don't want to do that, at least not for this version. So I'm going to probably order these this week. And then once they come, I'll be able to build one. And even if I've built one, I can't test it until the bootloader stuff is done. And I can't really do the bootloader stuff until I've got a board. So, yeah, it's a chicken and an egg thing, unfortunately. So this is the Blizzard S3. So I'm not adverse to open sourcing it and crowdfunding it, if it makes sense. We'll see. If you shorten it to 50 millimeters, you can get it. If I shorten it to 50 millimeters, I can't fit it all in. I have to lose things. So yeah. And it's still not $2. So it needs a custom stack up. So it's a $2 board if you just don't need anything. And the second you say, oh, actually, well, you know what? I need this to be a custom stack up or a custom thickness or a certain color solder mask, all of a sudden the discount goes away and you pay full price for everything. There's no auto routing at all in KiCad. Lose a USB connector, can't think of what you'd need that for. Yeah. Especially getting into the second stage bootloader and being able to flash it. Yeah, absolutely. Photochromax, there's a lot of opportunities. So I get that there's ESP32 and FPGA boards already out there, or designs already out there, projects people working on, and there's non-S3, like, you know, non-ESP but hybrid boards. I get that. Haven't invented anything here. I haven't, you know, Like, I totally get that I'm following behind, you know, but it's not about that for me. Like, I'm not trying to come up with something that hasn't been done before. I'm curious to see if how user friendly this can be made, right? Like, you still have to compile the bit stream yourself, right? Like, you still got to do all that FPGA side yourself, but and then the other thing would be I don't know, if I could use a smaller package. Hey, Technology, you are here. A smaller, what do you mean a small package? A smaller ICE? Well, sure, I could, but I don't want to go to a BGA. This is the smallest for the features I want if I don't want to go BGA. So the problem with going BGA is I don't have the equipment to inspect it. So, you know, if you put it on and it reflows fine and it works, great. And if it doesn't work, I can't fix them. I mean, I could try pulling them off and reballing them. It's slow. You know, it's troublesome. You know, an X-ray machine is just horrifically expensive. So, question, what's the power consumption and can it run Doom? So I can't answer either of those. Sorry. Well, the Doom thing, I don't know. Has anyone done Doom on an ESP32S anything? If that's the case, sure it can, right? Needs serious PCB specs. Right, yeah, to be able to do the little ones, yeah, the pitch and stuff, you know, well, obviously, like JLC 6-layer board, you can do via in pads and all that type of stuff. Yeah, I'd have to make the board double-sided as well. That's the thing. This is a single-sided board. I don't want to go a double-sided board. I don't want to have to put all the caps on the other side of the board, you know, underneath the BGA and stuff like that. Yeah, a 486 33 megahertz and MCU are two totally different things. I'll pick and place this board myself. Like I'll be able to manufacture it here. I can manufacture it on my Neoden. It just won't be reliable. But stay tuned. But yeah, so small you might get away with the single side. Maybe. It really depends on where like if I'm going to do really weird traces to get them out to get to the caps, I don't know. I don't want to introduce issues. Anyway, does the 2x header have a standard pinout? Or yeah, so a PMOD connector is this. You got the pinout is any IO FPGA IO you want here, and then these two pins have to be ground, and these two pins have to be 3.3 volts. Right? That's it. So in this case, I've chosen IO that are differential pairs. So 1 and 7 PA. So these ones here, they're a differential pair. These two are differential pair. It sucks that they are on corners, not next to each other, with 3 volts in the middle, but you know, which means I can't use a resistor network here unless I use oversized ones, whatever. Yeah, I don't want to go that route for technology. I just, for the sake of trying to make the board a bit smaller, adding that much risk and pain and whatever is just, it's not worth it. Yeah. So if you don't need the differential pairs, these are just individual IO. Not a standard, but de facto one. Yeah. It's what I don't like about it is it's 0.1 inch, like 2.54 millimeter header. It's big. It's big and chunky. Now, for those that I don't know if Cable's Tie is still here or if he's gone to work, but he brought this up, and I did this on purpose. You notice that the PMOD is not lined up with the header pins, right? That is on purpose because firstly, you can't stick. So this board is breadboard compatible. The PMOD connector is not designed to have pins going down. It's designed to have pins going up in a header. Like the PMOD connector is designed to look like this, right? It's not designed to have pins down in the board because you can't then connect like this. And it's designed to be female on the host and male on the things that connect to it, right? It doesn't have to be, but that's the way everyone does it. So the PMOD is never designed to go down into a breadboard, but I deliberately offset them as well for anyone that even tries. You can't put in a breadboard because they're sharing a breadboard which would connect all these pins together, which would be a problem, right? Hey, Pro Engineer. So, and these pins here are also, these two here, well, they're part of the PMOD. I didn't want people putting header pins on them and then trying to stick them in a breadboard. Wasn't it you? Who was it? Yes, it was. I'm sure it was. So I've deliberately offset the PMOD. So even if someone does put header pins in there, they'll quickly realize that it will not go in a breadboard because it's not designed to go in a breadboard, the PMOD. But the rest of it is fully breadboard, the same as my Tiny S3, Pro S3. Put in a breadboard, put in a proto board, whatever you want to do. Add some magnetics and make an Ethernet interface. I wouldn't want to code an Ethernet. Look, there's stacks of soft cores, available for the ICE. I mean, pretty much anything that you want to do, there's a core available for it. The Arduino route, what? Only that you do it for a good reason. I don't know. What was that in response to? Okay, Alan, I'll have a look at that video. Thanks for sharing it. Oh, right. Only caveat is RAM. If it has PS RAM, it's more than powerful enough to pull it off. To pull what off? Oh, you're talking about Doom. Yeah, there's no Mac on the S3. But you could do a Mac. Could you do one in the FPGA? I don't know. Anyway. So I'm just reading backwards. The offset pins, they offset one row for no good reason at all on the old AVR boards. Oh. Okay, I don't know what that's about. But, I mean, I've got silkscreen on this that is designed to clearly show that is a connector. Maybe. I had the silk going all the way down, but the button's in the way now. So, I can't put silkscreen over the pad or the button. How will you PNP 0201? With a nozzle and a feeder. I'm being deliberately obscure about answering that question. Have you noticed? So right now the only 0201 components I've got actually are these 33R resistors that are going out to the PMOD. I'm avoiding talking about something, sure. That I am. Deliberately vague. I also think I can probably tighten up this footprint a little bit. I think these pad lengths on the QFN are a little bit too long, but it's not going to let me shave any size off the board. So, Johnny, yep, a fully automatic one. I can't use resistor arrays, unfortunately. Well, I can, but they won't save me any space. The problem is I need 5 on this side, so I have to use a 6 package here, and then I need 3 on here, so I have to use a 4 package here. So I end up with a resistor. I end up with 2 components, so 2 different feeders, and having to source 2 rather than just 1 component that I place 8 times. So from a manufacturing point of view, this is a better solution than doing 2 uniques, where I waste one of them here and I waste one of them here. all the top and bottom rows. Not all, as I said, not. So everything, I'm just going to, don't freak out. Okay. Everything now is, yes, breadboard friendly. What you see there is breadboard friendly. That header there is not designed to have pins down. It's pins up. It's a 90-degree connector. And so, yes, the whole board is breadboard compatible. Charm high. I'm going to use my charm high. Where's Keen? Keen, can I have the charm high back?
Geeks as Control C.
Yes, undo. I ruined it. Yeah, I'm going to do the 0201s on the charm high. Okay, got it. Yep. Cool. Unfortunately, there's no room to stick the silk screen on the top of the board. It's not just a matter of sticking a number, unfortunately. There are different banks of I/O and different capabilities of I/O. Hey, Framerate 24. This is called a Blizzard S3, and it is a hybrid tiny S3 FPGA board that I designed. I did all this in 2 days, by the way. I did it from, I'm going to design a board, to having the board fully finished, like it is now, including scanning through the data sheet, and I'm sure I've missed something. I'm sure I've missed many things, whatever, all in 2 days, which was a marathon effort. But I was able to leverage the entire design of here, right? Which helped. Like, if I was doing this from scratch, it would be a completely different story. But I have a fully validated, ratified design on this side. So all I had to do was the bridge between the two and make sure that I designed the FPGA side properly. Now, one thing I haven't included on here, it does, Dale, hybrid rocks, is I have not included the 2.5 rail. The 2.5 rail is designed for one-time programming of the chip, and I don't honestly see a use why anyone would want to be doing a one-time programming on this board, and so I haven't included that. I've not done the hack Xenodiode thing to take 3.3 volts down to 2.5, whatever else. If you really need to do a one-time programming on the chip for a project, don't I have to tie it? It can only go to maximum of 3 volts, so I'd have to tie it through a Xena, which I don't want to do, and I don't have any room to do that anyway. And so I'm not tying it to anything. I'm just decoupling it. I did actually originally have a jumper at the back that you could solder and tie it to 3.3 volts, but it's out of spec. So yeah, and there's honestly no room to stick any more components. I mean, maybe I could get a little tiny Xena over here, but I haven't found a Xena that'll fit in here. So I'm literally out of space. You just got to realize how zoomed in I am here.
Cian, chat that has disconnected.
Okay, thank you. I love how it tells me that now. Lots of space where it says antenna. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that space is not usable. Thanks. As it is, I've got stuff way too close. I mean, I'm making sure that it's only ground pads that's close by. This I/O here, it'd be nice if I didn't have it so close, but as you can see, 3 layers of signal, I have no ability to get them out any other way. We'll finally buy this Blizzard S3 and Bling boards. This is exciting stuff. Cheers, Dale. So yeah, it'd be nice if I could break some more stuff out, but I can't. There's not that much I/O left. There's only probably about 6. What have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, 6, 7, 9, 10. There are 10 IO that I haven't broken out. Lots of space on the other 6 layers. Lol, 12 layer board next. Yeah, I didn't even want to do a 6 layer board, mate. Didn't even want to do 6 layer. And by the way, Christos, I've already used a BGA. Just saying. Not on this project. But, broken my cherry on a BGA, and now I've broken my cherry on a 6 layer board. So, yeah. Remember I said hell freezes over? Well, I've already done it. Clock input to the FPGA. I thought about adding pads on the bottom to the underside. There's actually not a lot of room. Again, oops. Now it's really hard to see in that mode, but like I'm not going to lose silkscreen to get some pads in, and there's really not a lot of space for pads. On pads that can be soldered to, right, need to be kind of at least that big. So I've got space for maybe 2 or 3 pads at the back, maybe. What, you could add a SOIC flash pin out on the bottom so folks could add their own. Well, the problem with that is that they won't be able to flash it. They won't be able to get anything on it. So what would they use that for? Like, this is wired into the S3. Like, it's not like a choice. And if you wanted it to be a choice, I could put jumpers on the back, which again, there's no room for any of that. But then, how are you going to flash it? There's no ability to talk directly to the FPGA, and there'd be no ability to talk directly to that flash. Right? You'd have to put a bit stream on the FPGA that can reflash itself to the flash. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's, I don't know. That's why. Like, if you need flash, don't use this board. Use something else. Like this, it can't be a board that solves every problem for everyone, right? Like, it's, yeah. Yeah, all little chip antennas, wagon loads, use the ground plane. Or ground planes, yes. For attenuation, yep. So, this has very solid. So that's one ground plane. And that's the other ground plane. So it's got 2 full ground planes. And yeah. I'm just going back in the chat. Could you easily replace with a single RGB LED? No. No, I can't, because there's no one place I could stick. It can't be an addressable LED. Well, I could, but then how people couldn't use it then without then having to come up with their own. Yeah, it's a 6 layer board, without having to come up with their own firmware to do, or gateway to do RGB LED. Where right now they could just toggle on and off, and if it's going to be an RGB LED that uses just a normal LED that isn't addressable, then I need an LED and 3 resistors that have to fit somewhere, and there's just no room for that. Like, you can't fit here. Like, they're just too big. I got small hands. Yes, I do. I know it has LED current control pins. I didn't wire them into that. I know I could, but yeah. There's 3 current control ones. Where's the data sheet? I've got it here somewhere. I've got it open. What's it? RGB. Yeah, whoops. Went too far. So there's RGB 0, RGB 1, and RGB 2, which you got to enable the RGB function for that though, right? Which again, my space isn't the FPGA space, which means I don't know. It's not like because you're building dedicated gateware to do certain things. Like it's not like I'm writing some code on the MCU, and also want to just flash the LED, so I'll just do an output to the pin and flash it, right? Like it seems that things are different and have to be like I can't in my head still work out if I wanted to put an I2C core in here, but I also wanted to have an SPI core, and I also wanted to do blah blah blah, and I also wanted like how does all those cores come together, and how do you put them, like, you know what I mean? Like it's you're not like adding one line of code in your thing to be able to turn an LED on and off, right? So because I haven't got my head wrapped around how all that would work, I'm trying to not use alternate functionality of the chip. Yeah. Like I don't even know how you change modes to user mode and not user mode and whatever, right? Like a lot of these IO have alternate functionality, like SPI, is it IO, SPI? So these pins here are the ones that are used to communicate with the FPGA to flash it, to put the gateway on. Just use instant syntax. Right. These are things I don't know on the FPGA side of technology. Like yeah. Right. And these pins can also be used for general IO when they're not being used in SPI mode, right? But what's interesting is the SS pin is the pin that triggers the FPGA to know that there's bitstream coming in and to grab it. So I don't know how you could ever put that into general IO mode unless you're using the embedded flash stuff. Like in my case, that can't ever be put into general IO mode, because if you do it, it's going to tell the FPGA to... So does it only do it when it's in reset mode? Okay, interesting. Okay. Well, there you go. Catch you later, Dave. Have a good night. So anyway, there's a lot to learn still, and there's, you know, there's the whole using an FPGA on your own hardware knowledge I need to learn, which is totally separate from learning how to use an FPGA for a project. On boot, it checks that pin and switches to slave or master accordingly. Right. So so if I pull it low when it boots up, it goes, okay, I need to go grab some data, grabs it from there and that, and then once that's done, and then it starts running its gateware. Right. Then that pin also becomes free. Okay, so then that means that we've got 4, 5, 6 IO, I believe. 1, 2, yeah. So there's 6 IO between the S3 and the FPGA. Then, answer my question: if the void around the antenna could it boost your distance? No. Well, the void itself, no. I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't know. Like it's the board is designed to be cut here, through here. Like there's not supposed to be ground on the other side. I don't know how this is going to attenuate at all. and it's designed to be square. That's the requirement for the antenna. Oh, a bit loony. Yes, it's an FPGA, kind of. It's a Blizzard S3. Madness, total madness. It's a tiny S3 with an FPGA on it at the same time. What is the orange line? This is my power plane. So this is all power. And that big long here is to get the V-bus all the way over, unfortunately, because there's no other way to get V-bus from one side to the other side. Doesn't like the position. Could you use it? I could, absolutely, but I want to be able to. I'll be able to tune the antenna. Will it be the best tuning in the world? Maybe not. Will it be better tuning than most S3 boards out there? Yes. I'll be able to tune it, no problem. That's why I've got all these components here to do that. I've got a pi and a T, so I can definitely go to sleep, Looney. Chat with you later. Yes, the FPGA has its two LDOs that are controllable from the S3 side. So you can shut down the power to the FPGA from the S3. But yeah, I could put a UFL connector on there, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. And I think that'll be less useful for people, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Go to sleep then. Christian, go to sleep. Go to sleep. The wonderful Blizzard from... That's funny. Hey, Andy Mouse. Squeak. So this is very much inspired by Fognology's stuff that he did. I'd kind of decided the other week that I wasn't going to do this. But when I saw the, as I said, the CircuitPython loading of the bitstream stuff, and just the general stuff that, like, I thought that getting all this together would have been a much harder problem. You know, you hear about people designing FPGA boards and you know, the different power domains and how you got to get everything, you know, powered up in the right order and this and that. And like, it seemed like, you know, implementing an FPGA on a board was a big step away from what I was used to and comfortable with. And I didn't think it ended up being that as challenging as I expected it to be. I felt a lot more trepidation about it than was deserved at the end. I'm not saying it was necessarily easy, and I spent a lot of time in the data sheet making sure that I've got everything kind of hooked up right, and that I've got the ability to offset the timing on the LDO bring up, and you know, I hope I haven't left off any IO that I need that are critical, whatever. So, you know, this is a massive data sheet, 53 pages of data sheet, and quite different to an ESP32 data sheet, for instance. So, but once I got over that, and yeah, so thanks very much, Fognology, for giving me the kick in the pants to design this. Assuming it works, who knows? Okay, so there you go. There you go. Right, that's a question I meant to ask earlier on Discord. On my Tiny Pico CA through in and bypass the LDO and associate. You can, so long as your 3.3 coming in is very clean, because you're also bypassing all of the decoupling in doing that. So, you know, if what you don't want to get is brownouts and stuff on the ESP32 on the 3.3 volt rail when it's trying to initialize the radio and stuff, because you got any noise on your power rail. Oh, it's not quite at the end of the stream. Soon, Kim. Hello. Catch you later, Christos. Lots of folks overseas going to sleep now, which is totally fair enough. Oh, too late, Pro Engineer. That's already been asked, although I don't know the answer. Yeah, I spent a lot of time tweaking this as well, and you know, I had like one LED on there, then I moved things around and put 2 on there, then I moved things around and put 3 on there, and then it was funny, I actually, just quickly, I had to redesign this whole side. I had the FPGA sitting normal, not offset, 45 degrees, and then I had the PMOD, I had everything on there, and then I length matched all of the differential pairs, and then everything was fine, and then I moved one thing, and I broke the length matching on the pairs, and I couldn't fix them. And so I had no choice, and I had to rotate the chip well, actually it was, I had to rotate it 135 degrees. Hey David. So that meant I had to reroute that whole side. Like, it was frustrating. And I had to push the PMOD out further, but then I got extra IO on the top of the bottom, and then I had room for a button. So there was this whole, there's nothing worse than laying something out and routing it and getting to 0 DRC errors, and then realizing that one change you made 50 steps ago without thinking broke the differential pair length, and you couldn't fix it. So that was a little bit frustrating. Yes, it's got an ICE 40 here and a tiny S3 board here. So ESP32 S3, 8 mega flash, 8 mega PS RAM, all the goodies on the S3 board, battery, blah 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 blah, plus an FPGA, interconnected. How about an ARM SPC? That's taking things a bit too far. Oh, you never know. I don't know. I don't think this is necessarily bringing anything to the space that isn't already there or aren't already solutions for. I definitely can't bring anything to the SBC space, I don't think. Like, that is so far out of my... Maybe not. Who knows? I don't know. When you can build an SBC with like 6 chips, maybe. Maybe. But I don't think so before that. Popped all my cherries. That's really funny. Do it, I can get stock. Definitely not, but maybe. Well, you know what? I never said I wouldn't build an FPGA board, but I never thought that was going to be on my radar. So there you go. And remember, this is still an experiment for me. This is just... This is to see if I can solve the other side, the firmware side and the gateway side. Because I feel like this without it isn't worth it, because you've got no direct control of the FPGA. So, if the second stage bootloader stuff doesn't work or isn't as intuitive or fail-safe as what I hoped, then this board in itself would be useless without USB pass-through directly to the chip and some flash on there, I think, personally. But I can't fit that on. I'd have to make the board bigger. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh. Apologise, everyone. Skippy pie. By Skippy pie. I don't think I'd call it a pie. Why is everyone using the pie thing, like orange pie and banana pie? And I get it, but how about come up with a different naming scheme that isn't ripping off Raspberry Pi? That'd be good. It's coming from an NXP167 with a couple of... Okay. Yeah, that should be fine. Quixotic Geek. Absolutely. Although I'd stick a bigger cap on there as well. Maybe just a 10 microfarad or something as well. My Turing Pi 2 arrived. What? A Turing Pi 2. I don't even know what that is. Is that a real thing? Are we being silly, or is that for real? So for those that are interested in what I meant by BGA stuff, I know Christos has already left. I've designed a shield for the for my tiny range that's got eMMC on it, but I don't know if I'm going to make them. Like I don't know what use it's going to be for someone to have, 16 gigabytes of storage on a Shield that has to be in SPI mode, not SDMMC mode or SDIO mode, because I don't have enough pins to do that. And then, when I've got so many other shields, like my RTC shield and my R2S audio shield that have an SD card socket that you can stick whatever size you want on there, I don't know what use eMMC would be on a shield. And they're not cheap, and I don't know if I'm going to make them or not. But, that's what BGA stuff I did. We'll see. Google it. They're really awesome. Okay. It's a board that takes up to 4 compute module 4Ss, but also works with the NVIDIA Jetson and built-in Ethernet switch and a pair of Ethernet ports. No. Hi, Dale, Hybrid Robotics. No, you can't flash it from the PMod. No, not in my design anyway. You could do it on a different design board, but no. Seeking real storage is all right, but you could I had one here, like my RTC Logger Shield, yeah, where you can stick a 128 gigabyte SD card in it. So, you can get 128 gigabytes, I'm pretty sure. I know you can get 64. You can get bigger than even 128 now. Anyway, so that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure that eMMC directly in SPI mode, which would be a tiny bit faster than an SD card, but not really much, but more reliable. But anyway. Okay, that's my IS40 project was simple. Implement 6 separate shift register, length 64 to 128 bits, combined into a single channel to pass data to and from an STM32. Pretty basic, but good for learning. Yeah, I've been playing with, the last few weeks I've been playing with with the Icebreaker on stream, trying to get some RGB LED, addressable RGB LEDs going. I'm going to continue playing with the FPGA, maybe not on stream, or I'm going to wait till I'm much further along before I go back and do it on stream, because I think the last stream was a bit frustrating for some people because it was all over the place. I'm struggling with the whole coder brain working with FPGA and not being coder brain, right? Like I'm still thinking of everything like code. So I need to break out of that, and I think doing that on stream is not fair to people. So I probably won't do that on stream. So I want to look at what this what is it? Turing Pi 2 cluster computer. Oh, okay. What is this? Turing 2 Pi cluster. Well, you can't get compute modules. That's the problem. So it's a board that's got up to 1 about machine learning support modular. I got 2 of the last 5 in Europe. So what would you use this for? I'm just curious. Like, yeah, I got. Like the energy efficiency on it, I think is cool compared to like even buying like a small, what are those, little Windows, what are those little PCs called? Not the NUCs, but something like a NUC or whatever, right? I mean, they draw heaps more power. Yeah, but I was thinking not the NUCs, but the other ones. Like you can buy the cheap ones, secondhand ones on eBay and whatever, those Dells and whatever else. they've got a name. The small form factor, but they're not the NUC. The like you can pick them up for like $50 or $100. You know, they've got an i3 or an i5 in them, and they've got, you know, running Windows, and yeah, like a thin, or I don't know if they're a thin client. They're a full computer. Doesn't thin client mean that it's also not a full computer? Whatever they're called, the point is you can pick them up really cheap. And one of the only downsides with them, I mean, you know, they've got Ethernet, you can get them with Wi-Fi, you can, you know, they've got heaps more RAM than this, and faster processors and cores and whatever else. The problem with them, apart from the fact that they run Windows, you can stick Linux on them, is that they're just not power efficient at all. Like they still chew hundreds of watts of power, which is not great if you want to be doing, you know. Bruce has got a link to one of them. Yeah, so these type of machines, like you can buy them, like, you know, a lot of companies who sell them on eBay and whatever else, and they look like this. They're small. They're not a Nook or whatever they're called, but like they're more like a small computer. Way to go, Bruce. You can pick them up really cheap, and they're pretty well spec'd, but they're power hungry still. Where this is better. But then, to be honest with you, well, I mean, different price range, but an iMac, an Apple Silicon iMac, will be like this times a million. But anyway, use a tiny 90 watt. Catch you later, Andy Mouse. Right, you don't get I/O with them, although there are some versions you can get from China that have I/O on them. They're not they're a computer. They're not designed to also, you know, be expanded upon at the SPI and I2C level. Excuse me. But sure, yeah. Can you the 65 to 90 watts? The ones I was looking at weren't. I think a while back I was looking at one, and it was the smallest I could find. I think it was 115 watts. Ah, okay. That's pretty cool. Like, if it wasn't so big, that would be a really good test jig server. Like, instead of having my individual, I'm still trying to solve what I'm going to do about my test jigs and this USB issue. And I started working on a design that would use a compute module, Compute 4, but you can't get them still. So those N5 105, right? But they're a totally different. That's not what I was talking about. Like, you can buy those on, you know, AliExpress or whatever else. Those little, they're proper like little Windows computers. They're tiny little things that, yeah, really low power, but they're also processing wise aren't. Yeah, not the same. I'm talking about like with an Intel chip inside them, like an Intel i chip, proper cores and stuff. But that's not needed for a lot of things. I don't know. Like I did. Anyway, this is cool. If only you could buy compute modules. Oh, check out the heat sinks on them. Look at the flex. Anyway. It would be cool to design a PCB that put a CM4 inside an S100 bus computer and all the new features. If only you could get compute modules. So they made their own, did they? 8 cores, up to 32 gig of RAM. Oh, not available yet. Heatsink boards. Oh, were they not compute modules? No, they're compute modules. Oh, you're saying they're a different board. Right, but on the back of those compute modules, looks like there's another board on them. Oh, that's the carrier board that slots in. Ah, I understand now. Right, I thought that was... It looked like the black PCB on the back. I thought that was a heatsink. But no, it's not. Right, okay. Yeah, I know those ones, the second ones that go in a Jetson Nano. I'm talking about the green boards, the back. I thought they were heat sinks on the back, but they're not. Yeah, my bad. That's pretty cool. Let me know if you do anything with it. I mean, it's pretty crazy that the type of computing power that we're getting in small and smaller form factors and prices going down is pretty crazy. As is this. Yeah, I believe they get hot, the CM4s. That's why I was, yeah. Okay. Folks, I need to go fire up the production line and build some more of these UFL boards, and I need to release stock of them. So I'm going to... Oh, and now Keen turns up. Way to go, Keen. Yeah, BitLooney's got his Mega Cluster RISC-V stuff. How many has he got? 16? Was it 16 chips I think he got on it? That's pretty crazy. Now we can start the show. Yeah. No. Now it's coffee time, and it's... you need to sleep. Come on. I'm just kidding. You've been working crazy hours? Probably. Oh, you posted on Discord as well. Thanks, Quickstudy Geek. Shooting Pie 2. Cool. Yeah, it does look very cool, I have to say. Yeah, I'm surprised it's taken this long for anyone to come out with compatible type boards. It was much easier when they were a slot in board and not the mezzanine connector one. You're up 24/7. Are you on speed? Wagon loads. Are you doing lines of speed? Shocking. Oh, okay. So someone posted a link to pink LEDs. 0402 pink LEDs with crap website. Sorry, I clicked the wrong link. I apologize, everyone. No, I clicked the wrong link and didn't realize. So Gerwin on Discord in the live stream section posted this website that they have pink LEDs. Yeah, I didn't mean to do the coffee break. I apologize. What does learn all mean? So how do you know they got pink LEDs? I don't want that type or that type. Well, maybe I want chip. How do I even find... I can't get to it. Anyway. Can't seem to get to any product page. Yeah. No, if I can't just source them regularly, like from a normal place, then I'm not going to do, like, yeah. Why does no one make black LEDs that light up black on a black background to tell you've done... What? I have to read that again. Why does no one make black LEDs that light up black on a black ground to tell you you've done something? Okay, this is a Guide to the Galaxy reference. Was it? Really? Okay. Don't recall that. It's been a long time. Oh, you're showing me up. Quixotic Geek, show me up. Okay, I think it is time. Are there backlight LEDs? Backlight LEDs. Well, how would a backlight LED work? Like, what would you expect to see? an LED lights up with a backlight behind it to light up the light up. You can get UV LEDs. Yeah, they've been around for. I've got some here. But and you can actually see them light up. They're just a really dark purpley color, but you can actually see when they're turned on or not. The restaurant at the end of the universe, there's still a ship that's all black. Yeah, I don't remember the quote though. Oh, right, because you changed the quote to be LEDs. Right, okay. Oh, my brain is not working. I need more coffee, and I need to fire up the line, unfortunately. And I need to order this Blizzard S3. What do you think? Am I going to order them? Order some prototypes? I've already got ice, chips, and everything else I need in my shopping cart. So I should just do it. I should do it. Do it. Update stock levels on new boards, don't forget. Yes, I will. But there's no one waitlisting them, so it's not like we're in a hurry. But yeah, I will do that. And I'll see that YouTube. I've watched lots of YouTube videos about ground
Geek
planes.
says order.
But my stack up on my ground plane is for this board is exactly what it needs to be. So yeah. And I know that there's lots of different discussion about ground above power, power above ground. It doesn't matter. In this case, I'm doing 2 ground planes, and they're designed specifically to separate the signals, but to work with the RF. So in this case, it has to be the stack up I've got. But yeah, I'll watch that video. I will. I promise you. Here, warming up the espresso machine. I'll take one. Thanks. Can you ship it? A cool tube. What? Prototypes are cool tube streams. Yeah, I don't know if I'll have the ability to not build it when it gets here and wait for a stream. We'll see. Because again, as I said, if I build it on stream, that doesn't mean I can do anything with it. Because without the ability to flash it, yeah. I'm using the 7868 JLC stack and bin stack up. I think it's called the 7686. No, 7628, which they charge for on a 6-layer board. Yeah. I was using the 3313, but I've moved back to the 7268. So the Blizzard bootloader incorporate UF2 functionality so we can flash. Yes, that is, well, yes. The plan is to make it a fully featured S3 board for CircuitPython, MicroPython, whatever, with UF2 and all that stuff, but to also have the ability that if you drag, when you boot into the mass storage for the UF2 bootloader, if you drag a bitstream file on, so and the question will be, how do we recognize what it is? Maybe it'll have to be named a certain way, I don't know. If you drag that on, it will use that to flash the, it won't flash the FPGA. It'll, because there's no flash there, it'll write it to a partition, a specific partition, and that will then load when it boots. So if it finds that when the board boots, if you don't go into UF2 mode, it'll, as it's booting up, it'll say, is there something in this partition? Yes, there is. Send it to the FPGA as you're booting. That's the plan. I think that'll work, but we won't know yet. No, not a SPIFS partition. It'll be a very small partition that sits at the very end. So hopefully it won't get stomped. If you do, if you erase the flash, okay, it'll go. But if you accidentally stomp the UF2 bootloader in Arduino IDE, and then you put this it'll be a custom UF2 bootloader. It won't be the ones from Adafruit. It'll be a Blizzard specific one. When you put that back on, hopefully that bit of partition will still be there and your bitstream will still be there. That's the plan. That's what we think. Michael and I have been talking about it. We think that should work, but we don't know until we try it. It's a plan. It's a plan and hopefully a goal that it will work. Yeah, I don't generally buy from AliExpress for stuff like that. I bought pink from them before. I need a proper, reliable... Yeah, who is this company? And $17 for 3,000 pieces. Color pink. Oh, see that? $63 it jumped up to. Anyway, whatever. Pink, 3,000 pieces. Okay, well maybe I'll buy a reel and see. What sounds like a plan? Wagonloadsfpga.flash. Yes, that's what we're going to call the file. Wagonloadsfpga.flashmenow _final2. Okay, folks, I'm going. Have a great week. I will chat with you all soon. Hopefully it won't be by next stream. I won't have the boards by next stream, even if I order them today. But maybe 2 streams away, I'll have a Blizzard board that we can build. Yeah. Okay, I'm freezing. Catch you later, everyone. Bye. Thanks for watching. Woo!